on me, Cowboys on three. 1, 2, 3.
Cowboys! And then a booming hit and knocks the ball loose. Tipped up in the air and intercepted by Overfield. Prescott escapes. There's the run.
You've heard the hype, you have seen the excitement continue to build as September 4th is quickly approaching and the Cowboys get ready to open up their 2025 season on the road against the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 1. Alongside Nicole Hutchison and Mickey Spagnola, I'm Kyle Youmans. Welcome in to Cowboys Spotlight. And as you can see behind us, Cowboys Nation is ready to go for that Week 1 matchup. The talk is done, but the storyline's still abundant. It's time to finally play some football. Mickey, I'll start with you. What are some of the storylines we need to continue to shine a light on as we get closer to the regular season?
You know, since the start of training camp, my storyline has been the cornerback position because Trayvon Diggs was not quite ready to begin practice. He is now. Does he play? Because if he plays, it's Trayvon Diggs, Deron Bland, and Kaiir Elam. If he's not ready to play from a conditioning standpoint, then it's Deron Bland, Kaiir Elam, and they got to answer that question.
Yeah, and another answer, a question that they need to answer is that running back room. One thing that I'm tracking is, you know, do the Cowboys take the running back by committee approach, or are they trusting one of those guys in that room to emerge as RB1? You have some veteran presence in Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams, but the big thing about those guys is, you know, availability. Of course, Williams and his career Denver had some injuries there. Miles Sanders had missing some time throughout camp, but I mean, there's a lot of excitement around those guys. They all bring a lot of different things, so I'm looking forward to what they decide to do.
Well, and you look at those names on the running back depth chart right there, Williams, Sanders, Blue. You feel good about wide receivers, so much so that they kept less this year. They usually keep 6 wideouts. They go with 5. They have the fullback still, and then those tight ends as well. Then we flip to the offensive line. Take a look at the guys that are blocking up front for this Cowboys team. They keep 9 offensive linemen at the moment. That's going to kind of give some ebbs and flows as the season goes on. A couple young guys up front, including a trio of first-round picks, all named Tyler Smith, Tyler Guyton, and then, of course, the Tyler Booker addition from this past offseason. But where do you feel like this offense is deepest, Mickey? Because on paper, they look pretty good.
Yeah, and I think they're deepest at wide receiver. Let's face it, when they added George Pickens to the group, the Cowboys are out there with 2 number 1 wide receivers with CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens. And don't go to sleep on Kevontae Turpin as a wide receiver. They were using him in training camp, throwing the ball down the field to him. So to me, those 3 guys with the addition of the other 2, and remember Jonathan Mingo is on injured reserve, he can also come back.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of star power, Mickey, like you mentioned already, in this wide receiver room. But you can't forget about the guys like Jalen Tolbert, who had 7 touchdowns in 2024, who's obviously looking to make a big jump in his contract year. I mean, you can't forget about the guys who could possibly be elevated. This is a long game, a long season, right? So you never really know the durability there. But, I mean, guys like Jalen Brooks, they brought on practice squad, who had a stellar camp. We have to talk about it. But just talking about those guys, Trayshawn Holden as well, I mean, that room is a lot deeper than a lot of people expect.
Yeah, it goes all the way down to the practice squad.
Literally.
I mean, you feel really good about Trayshawn Holden, who might have the best hands of the group, and he's not even on the 53-man roster when it comes said and done. This is a schedule where the Cowboys can't afford a slow start. When you look at what the schedule brings to the table, it's going to be a quick start with Philadelphia on the road, of course, coming up on Thursday. But then you look down the schedule, the later parts of this thing going toward that Thanksgiving holiday, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota, all in the mix there. Then you turn around and you look at the middle of the schedule, even prior to the bye week. Where do you feel like, Mickey, is the toughest spot on this entire 2025 campaign?
If I skip over the season opener, which is about as hard as it can be, I think it's that 6-game stretch from the Sunday before Thanksgiving through game number 16. They have to play 6 consecutive games against 2024 playoff teams, both teams that were in the Super Bowl included in there, along with 3 division champs. It can't be any more difficult than that.
Yeah, and talking about that stretch, I mean, you're playing 6 straight teams that won 11 or more games in 2024, combined for 81 wins last year as well. I mean, and you talk about the lack of recovery time that those guys have. In Week 12 versus Philly, they have a 3-day break until they have to play Kansas City, and then talk about 7-day break after that. You got Detroit, and then you have Minnesota. I mean, I'm closing my eyes literally just thinking about it. So I know the Cowboys are probably like, all right, so just bracing themselves for that. But it's gonna be fun.
No doubt about that. And when you look at that schedule, those games, those 6 straight games, it's the first time in NFL history that the team has had to face teams 11 wins or more in 6 straight games from the previous year. It really is a tough stretch. We're not making it up here on Cowboys Spotlight. We're also not making up the hype at the wide receiver position. How much can George Pickens help open up this offense when we come back?
The Dallas Cowboys Spotlight is presented by AT&T, an official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by the Texas Lottery. Play the games of Texas with the Texas Lottery. Play today.
The deal is done. Micah Parsons is no longer a Dallas Cowboy. He's traded from Dallas to Green Bay in the middle of the week, going into week 1 of the 2025 regular season. One of the biggest trades and most shocking trades in Cowboys franchise history is now in the history books. Welcome in to Cowboys Spotlight alongside Mickey Spagnola. I'm Kyle Youmans, soon to be joined by Nicole Hutchison. Quick disclaimer right at the top of the show. This segment was filmed post-Micah Parsons trade. The rest of the show was actually filmed pre-Micah Parsons trade, so keep that in mind. Here are the details. Micah Parsons on his way to Green Bay. Kenny Clark is the player in return, along with a 2026 first-round pick and a 2027 first-round pick. Mickey, when you look at all this, you've been around for the Herschel Walker trade. You've been around for some crazy moves in Cowboys history. What were your initial reactions when it came to the Micah Parsons deal?
It was why. Because the Cowboys didn't have to do this, right? There was no deadline. There was no reason why they had to pull a trigger on a trade, even if they didn't have an extension. So to me, there was deeper meaning to why this took place. And it wasn't because Jerry was mad or anything. To me, at some point, I think the Cowboys lost trust in Micah Parsons. Like, do I really want to spend all this signing bonus money over a 4-year deal? And is he going to do what I want him to do? And I think that factored into some of this with all the shenanigans were going on. And as I thought about, the next morning, it was like, sometimes be careful what you ask for.
Well, and remember, the conversation, at least numbers-wise, from the outside looking in, was $41 million. That was kind of the mark that was set initially from the media and from the rumors that we had heard. He wanted to reset the market at the edge rusher spot, which would have been $41 million. Now that the deal is done, he gets $188 million, 136 of that guaranteed. So that's $47 million a year. There was quite the discrepancy. Is that why we can expect a trade like that? And what can we expect now that the fallout has happened?
Well, here was my point, and I can't tell you how many times I said this. Everybody was criticizing Jerry for not getting the deal done. And they kept saying, well, this is what it's going to be. It's going to be $41 million a year. And I said, how do you know what they're asking for? Because we never heard. And I said, if I was the agent, I would have been asking for I would ask for 50 a year, right? And then maybe I got to 45. And I guarantee you that's what took place. And the Cowboys weren't budging off of theirs. But again, the Cowboys did not have to do this. They could have kept him. He was under contract. He had nowhere to go. And had he continued to decline to practice and play, well, then you just put him on conduct detrimental to the team, and he doesn't get $1.2 million a week. Okay? So again, that's why I was like, okay, was this the best deal you can get? Because when we were doing our podcast that morning, I said, we were talking about it, and I just scribbled down on my notes. I said 2 first-round picks and 2 starters.
Yeah.
Okay, I came up one starter short.
And we'll talk about that starter momentarily, but you asked the question why. Here's what Jerry Jones had to say to the media in the post-trade press conference.
This was a move to get us successful in the playoffs. This was a move to be better on defense, stopping the run. This was a move to, if we get behind, not be run on. And it was a deliberate move, a well thought out move to make this happen. The other thing that I would say is that we have a chance to get a minimum of 3, and it could very easily be as many as 5. Really top players. And you've got to look at 3 to 5 to 1 over who's going to help you win the most. And it was strictly that, because it's not only the draft picks that you have as currency, but is the available cap room. And we can take that available cap room that we were going to use with Micah, and we can pay 3 to 5 players with that.
And here's what that defensive list looks like at the moment, with the 4 draft picks and some salary cap room to boot over the next few years. Defensive end, edge rusher, now without Micah Parsons in the fold, but you add a big name like Kenny Clark, who has been to multiple Pro Bowls. We'll talk more about him later. Here's the back half of that Matt Eberflus-led defense. You feel good about your linebackers. Your corners are a little banged up, but some good names there that you could hopefully get back in the fold. And then the safety group has been the same over the last 3 or 4 years now in terms of those starters. So let's talk about Kenny Clark a little bit. Stephen Jones in that post-trade press conference was really happy about the addition of Clark. Here's what the Cowboys COO had to say.
Kenny Clark was a big part of this, and that was a part of winning right now. And we feel like when you look at, the frustration is we hadn't been able to win the big game in the playoffs, and we think it is a direct connection to not being able to stop the run. And we think Kenny Clark's going to be a big piece to that. And we felt like because of our depth on the edge, as well as the ability to be able to scheme pressure, that we could make up for Micah, because obviously he's elite at rushing the passer, that we could make up for that.
So you hear Stephen Jones' thoughts on it. Of course, Kenny Clark arriving Friday morning in Dallas. Jerry Jones able to meet him on the private jet on the tarmac at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. And then Clark gets the trip on the Cowboys bus from the airport all the way to the Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco. Here are his thoughts about being a Dallas Cowboy.
Man, I was getting my daughter some ice cream and just randomly just got the call. I was shocked. I was shocked, but once Jerry and all those guys called me, Shotty and everybody, it was just, I just felt wanted. You know what I'm saying? And it's a blessing. I'm appreciative of it. Just no nonsense. You're gonna get a dog, somebody that that's just all about football. And I'm here to ball. I'm here to be my best self. And I feel like when I'm my best self, there's nobody messing with me.
Kenny Clark, for a player that's really a footnote in a Micah Parsons trade headline that everybody in the sports world is talking about, is a pretty good footnote. When you talk about his resume and what he's brought to the table, he had an incredible year in 2023, had a down year, played through injury in 2024. What is the expectation for a guy like Clark, who's a part of one of these massive trade deals and is in a position of need for this Cowboys defense?
Yeah, we're talking about a 3-time Pro Bowler, as you saw on the screen there. And the Cowboys did need somebody else in the middle. They knew that. And it should have been something that maybe they tried to take care of sooner, didn't get the opportunity either in free agency or the draft. So now they get the guy that's going to be your nose tackle, your one technique. And they needed they had some depth there, but they didn't have like a star player. And so there was only so long you're going to continue waiting on Mozzie Smith. Now, Mozzie might turn into somebody, but now it's not all on his shoulder. They got a guy in the middle that's playing where he needs to play. He needs to be the one technique, not the three technique that I understand that the Green Bay Packers used him at the year before. So he fits in well. And when you consider now Osa Odighizuwa, and everybody continues to forget Solomon Thomas.
Yeah.
I think Solomon Thomas, what I saw from him in training camp, is a pretty darn good player still. And so I think that between the three of those guys, and if Mozzie can do something, and then Perry and Winfrey, maybe they've restocked that defensive tackle spot, which, by the way, kind of helps you stop the run.
Absolutely, and this is a team in Green Bay that was top 3 in the league the last couple of years at stopping the run in that run defense. Kenny Clark getting off the plane. He's probably your best nose tackle on your roster already. That's coming off of a down year with the Packers last year. We've got more Cowboys Spotlight coming your way after this. Nicole Hutchison joins the show. We run down all the storylines going into week 1 of the 2025 season.
When you're passionate about something, you don't really care what the narrative is around you. And his ability to go up and get the ball, you guys haven't seen it yet. But those days are literally coming.
It's like Mario Bros. You see what I mean? So, like, we definitely could do something special.
Oh, did CeeDee Lamb run a nice route?
Cannot wait to see CD and George Pickens on the field together in a game setting. And just like Mickey Spagnola back in the day on that N64 playing Mario Brothers, they're going to get after a couple different guys here and there. Back here for Cowboys Spotlight. And let's start with those wide receivers as we just saw some of the excitement. What's the ceiling for these guys? Pickens, Lamb, can they be one of the best wide receiver duos in all of the National Football League?
You know, and I was pretty good at that, by the way.
I'm sure you were.
Look, I looked this up. Never in the Cowboys' history have they had 2 Pro Bowl receivers in the same year on that team. I think that's a possibility this year. These guys are dynamic, and they're going to feed off of each other. And if you think about it, we know all about CeeDee Lamb, but when it comes to George Pickens, he's playing right now with the best quarterback he has in his NFL career. So this could be really something special, Nicole.
Yeah, and I agree with Mickey, but I mean, you talk about CeeDee Lamb, who's proven that he's the most complete wide receiver in the NFL. You add George Pickens, who is trying to be that as well in terms of his route running, right? You saw in training camp him work in the middle of the field, not just trying to be a boundary receiver, but I mean, those guys, defenses just can't play you the same when you have 2 Pro Bowl receivers in GP and CD. I mean, so it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, Kyle.
So, but they're different receivers.
Absolutely.
With that, and that's what I think Cowboys fans are excited to see is George Pickens brings an element to this team that the Cowboys haven't had at wide receiver in quite some time. What makes them different and what makes them dangerous, though they're on the same wavelength and maybe statistical categories?
Yeah, I mean, this is someone in terms of GP, I mean, he worked the outside as a receiver. I mean, now he's trying to get a little bit more growth, like I just mentioned, in terms of trying the intermediate routes, the short routes. And you talk about, you know, Dak Prescott now being, Mickey, you know, the best quarterback that he's played with. I mean, they bring 2 different types of styles. I feel like GP kind of brings that more big-bodied, physical receiver-esque type vibe as well. But you can't forget about CD, who was top 10 in yak yardage. I mean, you pair that together, those guys can be dangerous.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think the key thing is how versatile they are. I think George Pickens got kind of stamped as, oh, he's just a 9-route receiver, goes down, makes big catches. What Dak Prescott said about him in training camp was this: if they want to go man on him, he's open. So again, his catch rate is amazing. And then when you talk about CeeDee Lamb, he can play outside and he can play in the slot. So defenses can't say, oh, the Cowboys are going 3 wide, we know where CD's going to be. They don't know where CD's going to be. And he's awfully good coming out of the slot and outside. You can't double everybody, and I think that's going to make these guys, as I said, very dynamic.
Well, and that's why two guys especially are excited about this. Play caller Brian Schottenheimer and quarterback Dak Prescott. Here's Dak on that chemistry with Schottenheimer and how he's kind of gotten into that fold early on.
I mean, I think that's something that probably every quarterback and OC has is a purpose in the play. And so the play caller purpose, something with Shotty, obviously we started way back in the offseason when we were putting the plays in, whether they're plays that carried over or they're new plays and new ideas. We came up with the purpose of it. And then, therefore, the nuances of it just depend on the game situation, the down and distance. And I think just during the week, those are the conversations that come up, as this is how it can change, whether first, second and short, a shot call type things, of knowing when to be more aggressive than not. We'll get into that as the week starts.
So, Mickey, when it comes to Dak Prescott, how much can he help open this passing game up and take it to a new level?
The way I look at it with Dak Prescott is the fact that he was hurt last year and he missed 9 games, and I think people have forgotten that, how many games he missed. And to me, when he left off healthy for the entire season, 2023, let's not forget he finished number 2 in the MVP voting. I think that's the Dak Prescott the Cowboys are going to see this year.
Yeah, we saw him using his legs in training camp, right? He feels healthy, like he said, the healthiest he's ever felt. I mean, get back to 2023 Dak, and we can have a lot of success, Kyle.
That's what everybody is hoping for in this Cowboys facility getting ready for the 2025 season. When we come back, we flip our attention to the other side of the football. Tommy Yarish and Patrick Walker of DallasCowboys.com hit the film room when we come back. Welcome back into Cowboys Spotlight. Here's a look at the Cowboys defense in 2025. The initial 53-man roster, linebackers, corners, safeties. Good to see Trayvon Diggs on that list. He passes his physical. He is on the initial 53. As we flip to the defensive line, see those defensive tackles. Rookie Jay Toia makes it. Perrion Winfrey, Brian Schottenheimer said he actually played a practical joke on Winfrey and went in thinking he was going to get cut and played it up, played some theater, got right back into it. Perrion Winfrey makes the team. Welcome back in. Nicole Hutchison, Mickey Spagnola. What are your expectations on this defensive side of the ball? Matt Eberflus, he's going to bring a couple different looks back in the defensive coordinator role. Mickey, what are you looking for?
Well, I'm looking for an improvement over last year. And if this team is going to improve and hit some of their expectations, they have to be much better against the run. The Cowboys struggled stopping the run last year, and that's got to be better. You mentioned Toia. I'll tell you what, I ran across him the other day, and that's a big man. So maybe taking up some space in the middle will help out with this defense.
Yeah, it's no secret that the run defense has been an Achilles heel for this defense the last 2-3 years. But, I mean, you talk about Eberflus, who made the adjustments in the preseason. They did not do so good against the run, against the Rams, against the Ravens as well. Atlanta, they only allowed an average of 1.6 yards per carry. So you clearly see the emphasis there with Eberflus trying to make the adjustments to improve in that area.
With his system being implemented, who do you feel like has the best chance, Mickey, to make a Pro Bowl here in 2025?
Well, I'm going to go with Deron Bland. I think from a cornerback standpoint, he is so versatile, and this is what's really going to help them because depending on who steps up when Trayvon Diggs gets out there, Deron Bland has the ability to play outside, and then he can also go inside and man the slot. And remember, they lost Jordan Lewis, so somebody's got to take that spot, and if he can do that, he's got Pro Bowl written all over him.
I'm going Dante Fowler, and I'm keeping it short and sweet because we've got things to talk about. But I want to talk about Dante Fowler. He had a second career best, 10.5 sacks in Washington. He said that I feel comfortable in Matt Eberflus' system. He feels like he's playing under that DQ system as well. I mean, I'm going to go Dante Fowler easily.
I like that. I think what he showed with Dan Quinn in Washington with the Commanders and what he showed his first stint in Dallas gives him an opportunity to take a step forward here in his second stint with the team. All right, we've talked offense, we've talked defense. Let's allow Tommy Yarish and Patrick Walker to do the same inside the film room.
Thanks, Kyle. And when we're talking about the Cowboys and we're talking about this offense, it's going to go as Dak Prescott does. Tommy, as you well know, Dak Prescott is set to be back on the field week 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles, his first action since suffering that torn hamstring against the Atlanta Falcons last November. And you talk about someone who's going to benefit. CeeDee Lamb is going to be a huge beneficiary of Dak Prescott.
Really, the whole offense is going to be a huge beneficiary, but CeeDee Lamb is going to be one that might benefit more than most. Still a 1,000-yard receiver without Dak Prescott last year, but this is what they can do together. You go back to 2023, like we said, CeeDee Lamb lined up here to the outside. He's going to run a very simple route, just kind of bump his corner to the outside and go up the sideline. And you're going to see the two things that CeeDee Lamb does really well when we run this play. Number one, it's separate from his corner. And that's what he's going to do right from the jump. You'll see him bump that outside hip and get into open space. Dak Prescott lays it in the perfect spot. And then after that, you see the run after catch ability from CeeDee Lamb. Nobody can catch him when he's in open space. And you saw there wasn't really a lot of room to place that ball there from Dak Prescott, but he can get tight window throws in there really well. And CeeDee Lamb is one of the best receivers in the league. He can make you pay for it.
Absolutely. You talk about anticipation. Just call him Doc Prescott, Dottie Parton, if you will. You know who else will benefit from Dak Prescott being on the field? Someone who's struggled with quarterbacks that have not been up to that caliber. George Pickens now in the building with the Dallas Cowboys. And George Pickens is going to have a good time with Dak Prescott, and likewise considering what Pickens can do when the ball is in the air.
You're absolutely right. In Pittsburgh, not really a stable quarterback situation. Now George Pickens has that in Dallas, and you'll see what he'll be able to do, especially when you get close to the end zone here. This is from last year with the Steelers. Russell Wilson in at quarterback, and as we stop this play up top here, here's George Pickens right here, one-on-one on the outside, and you see he's kind of facing this direction, so he's thinking the ball is going to go here closer towards the corner of the end zone, maybe even the pylon on the near side. And instead he's going to show off the body control and just make that acrobatic flip of his body midair. There are not a lot of people in the NFL that can do that, Patrick. That is just ridiculous athleticism. And the Cowboys haven't had something like that in quite some time in terms of a go up and get it red zone threat. They've got that in George Pickens, but he can do so much more too. We've talked about his ability to run after the catch in the off-season workouts and in training camp. This is a guy who can really do a lot for you, but his contested catchability is what makes him one of the better receivers in the NFL in the red zone.
100% agreed. And you know what, Tommy? There's another guy, but he's on the defensive side of the ball. He can run after the catch as well. His name is DaRon Bland. He is the pick six king for the Dallas Cowboys. And when you look at what DaRon Bland is able to do, now that he's fully healthy, we're hoping that Trevon Diggs can be on the field as early as week 1. He's back at practice. But DaRon Bland, you take a play like this against the Carolina Panthers, a pick six, and see what he did, and it just has to get you excited.
Yeah, one of what seemed like 100 pick sixes in a record-setting 2023 for DaRon Bland. He's certainly hoping he gets back to this caliber. He's not even in the picture right now, but as you run this play, you're going to see him come across the middle of your screen there. So up top right here, you've got Bland, who's fighting off an attempted little pick play here from the Panthers, and you can already tell that there's a lot of ground to cover between him and the receiver, but the receiver's only going this way. So that makes all the more ground that DaRon Bland's got to recover, but look at how quickly he's able to get back on track and jump the route from the quarterback, does a quick somersault, and then it's daylight in front of him. We'll see you later for a pick six. The Cowboys are certainly hoping DaRon Bland can do that again here in 2025, but the question is, where do they put him? Is it in the outside? Is it in the slot? If he's going to cover the middle of the field like that, he can definitely play in the slot and maybe be one of the better slot corners in the NFL, Patrick.
100% agreed. Keep in mind, DaRon Bland played under the slot when he first was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. He was only moved to the boundary because of injury to Jordan Lewis and Trevon Diggs at that time. But now Trevon Diggs back in the equation. You got Kyer Elam. They don't have Jordan Lewis exiting the free agency to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You need a definitive nickel guy. DaRon Bland is going to provide you that, but also snaps on the outside. Just kind of depends on the defensive personnel set.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I talked about, the middle of the field is so important for nickel corners, right? And so if you've got the ability to get horizontal and go east and west like that, like you just saw from DaRon Bland, then you're going to be really well done. Back to you, Kyle.
Thanks, Tommy. Thanks, Patrick. When we come back, we wrap things up on Cowboys Spotlight. Take a look ahead to Week 1 of the Cowboys 2025 season.
The Dallas Cowboys Spotlight was presented by AT&T, an official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. And by the Texas Lottery. Play the games of Texas with the Texas Lottery. Play today.
Be sure to join the Miller Lighthouse and the Dallas Cowboys watch party on Thursday, September 4th as the Cowboys open their season against the Philadelphia Eagles. All presented by 7-Eleven, the Cowboys cheerleaders, Slurpee samples, and a whole lot more. Go join the rest of Cowboys Nation out at the Miller Lighthouse. Wrapping things up on Cowboys Spotlight with Nicole Hutchison and Mickey Spagnola. I'm Kyle Youmans. Let's play a little game. We did this on the first Cowboys Spotlight. Let's do it again. This is Name That Player. I need the crowd and the audience in the studio to get up to it. Do you know who this player is? We're going to mask them all like this. You give us your best guess as to who that player is. Nicole, I'll let you start.
Wow, this is crazy.
Okay.
I'm so CD.
You're going to go with CeeDee Lamb. What do you think, Mickey?
CeeDee Lamb.
You're going CeeDee Lamb. Our decision, it is CeeDee Lamb. Hey, if it's a wide receiver catching a ball in the end zone, it might be CeeDee Lamb. Might be CeeDee Lamb. All right, one down. You both got a point there. Let's move on to player number 2 here on Cowboys Spotlight. Ooh, this one's kind of interesting. I think I've got a guess, but what's yours?
Turpin.
That's Cavante Turpin, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think, Mickey?
Yeah, his feet are moving too fast. It's got to be Turpin.
I like the focus, the intensity. The guess is Cavante Turpin, and the answer is Cavante Turpin, maybe? Maybe? Ah, there we go.
Yeah.
On Thanksgiving
Left us
against the
hanging.
Giants last year. I like it. Almost, yeah. It was just the suspense. Building the suspense. One more to go here. We've done a couple offensive players here. And it's not Dak. We're not taking snaps out of the shotgun. That'd be too easy to try and figure out. What do you have here on this one? Oh, is this another Cowboys target? What do you think?
I think it's Jake Ferguson.
You think that's Jake?
I
What
think
do you
it is.
think, Mickey? Uh-oh.
Yes, Ferguson.
You're going with Ferguson?
Yeah.
You want to change your answer?
Oh, they are.
Because it is Jake
Okay.
Ferguson. I know you had a little bit of hesitation. He might be a big key for the Cowboys in that matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. What's quickly your key for the Cowboys to get a win in Week 1?
Being creative with the run game. That's simple. Use your guys in motion. Do some creative things there. Have some success in the run game.
Coach speak. Offensive line, defensive line. Got to play well.
Got to win in the trenches. That's the big thing for this Cowboys team going into Week 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Be sure to watch Cowboys pregame live, 6 p.m. Central Time on DallasCowboys.com and the Cowboys streaming platform. For Nicole Hutchison, Mickey Spagnola, and our entire crew, I'm Kyle Youmans saying so long from Cowboys Spotlight.